Sophie Cunningham owned Jacy Sheldon from the same game that Marina Mabrey did the massive body slam into Caitlin Clark on. She still owns Jacy. She still owns Jacy Sheldon. And what's great is she's got a great sense of humor about it, and she's not shy about it. I mean, what are they going to do?
Sophie Cunningham didn't whisper. She roared, and her message landed squarely on Jacy Sheldon's lap. The same Sheldon who's been a little too accidental with Caitlin Clark. This wasn't a back-channel complaint or a subtle hint. Sophie made it public, she made it loud, and she made sure the fans felt it. So, let me ask you, how much do you appreciate Sophie's fire? Drop it in the comments, because Fever Nation is already sold. This is the exact edge Caitlin Clark deserves riding shotgun.
This is kind of crazy. This one is kind of crazy. When you get Sophie Cunningham to sign a Jacy Sheldon rookie card with property of, that is crazy. That is crazy. Property of Sophie Cunningham.
Here's the truth most teams don't admit. When Caitlin Clark is your teammate, she isn't just another guard. She's a walking headline, a ratings magnet, and unfortunately a bullseye for cheap shots. Opponents know that every hard foul, every bump, every shove on Clark is going to trend, and some of them can't resist testing those waters. And when that's the reality, you only have two choices. Either protect her, or let the league turn her into a crash test dummy. Sophie Cunningham made her choice loud and clear. She's not letting Clark become target practice without answering back. This all traces back to that infamous game. The one where Marina Mabrey decided to play linebacker instead of guard and leveled Clark after the whistle. That hit wasn't just unnecessary, it was dangerous, and it exposed what everyone already knew. Clark's status makes her both the face of the league and a lightning rod for abuse. But even before Mabrey's NFL audition, Jacy Sheldon was testing her luck. Subtle bumps off the ball, crowding Clark's space in ways refs conveniently missed. Those little extra nudges that add up over a game. It didn't look like basketball strategy, it looked like harassment dressed up as defense. And fans were left asking the same question over and over. How does the WNBA not have its own penalty box for this nonsense? Because if any other rookie star was getting this treatment, you can bet the league would step in.
Quarter we go. They're trailing by 10. Keep an eye on her and Jacy Sheldon. Clark trying to back her down.
Clark is okay.
Sheldon, that was Clark, hitting her in the face. Clark is upset about that. Then everybody's upset about that. Marina Mabrey comes in. She decks Clark, tempers flaring on both sides.
Sheldon's oops, my bad routine had already worn thin with Fever fans. Every bump, every stray elbow, every so-called accident started looking less like coincidence and more like a pattern. And Sophie? She wasn't buying the act. She wasn't filing it away as another complaint. She was making a note, circling the name, and waiting for her moment. Later in the game, she delivered her own answer, and it was textbook Sophie Cunningham. Clean, controlled. But strong enough that Sheldon felt it in her shoulders the next morning. It wasn't reckless, it wasn't dirty, and it didn't cross the line. What it was a message, the basketball version of, we noticed we're not blind, and we're not letting this slide anymore. That's what separates Sophie from so many players in this league. She doesn't just talk about protecting teammates. She doesn't leave it to post-game sound bites or passive frustration. She acts in the moment, in real time when it counts. And the most important part? She does it without hurting her own team. No flagrant foul, no ejection, no meltdown. Just a perfectly delivered check that sent the message loud and clear without giving the refs anything to whistle. And here's the kicker. Sophie didn't let it stop once the game clock expired. She carried that same energy when the lights dimmed and the jerseys came off. That consistency is rare. A lot of players can flip the switch for 40 minutes, but Sophie's the kind of enforcer who wears it like armor. On the court, at fan events, in the locker room, it's the same toughness, the same accountability. She's not just reacting in the heat of competition. She's setting a tone for the entire franchise.
Sophie commits a hard foul on Jacy Sheldon. Again, as Jacy Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm gonna give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional.
Fast forward to a Fever fan event. Sophie's posted up at the autograph table, smiling, laughing, connecting with fans the way only she can. She's in full community mode, posing for photos, cracking jokes, giving every person in line their moment. Then one fan steps up with something different, a Jacy Sheldon rookie card. And they don't just want a signature, they want a statement. They want Sophie to put her stamp on it. And Sophie delivers. She doesn't just scrawl her name and slide it back. She takes the pen, looks at the card, and writes across the front in bold letters, "Property of Sophie Cunningham." That's not a doodle. That's not some casual autograph. That's a declaration, a headline written in Sharpie. It's Sophie taking all the energy from the bumps, the cheap shots, the targeting of Caitlin Clark, and flipping it right back, right there on a collectible card. It's her way of saying, if you come for our star, you're coming through me first. The room lost it. Fans erupted, phones came out, laughter echoed, and Lexi Hull, sitting beside her, was practically doubled over. In that one moment, Sophie didn't just sign a card. She created a piece of Fever folklore, something fans could rally around, something that lived way beyond the arena lights. And that's why it mattered. Because it wasn't just funny, it wasn't just sassy, it was symbolic. It told the entire league, Caitlin Clark has backup, Indiana has an enforcer, and Sophie Cunningham isn't shy about letting the world know. The
See, she's the problem. She is the problem.
moment went viral in seconds. Phones were out, fans were cackling, and Lexi Hull, sitting right next to Sophie, practically doubled over in laughter. The whole table turned into a comedy show with one bold stroke of a Sharpie. But the real wildfire started online. Within hours, the clip was everywhere. Fever Nation memes, property of Sophie Cunningham edits, and even mock-up merch designs flooding timelines. It wasn't just a funny autograph anymore, it was culture. And Sophie? She didn't duck from it. No soft backpedal, no half-hearted, I was only joking. There wasn't a single Notes app apology in sight. Instead, she doubled down. She owned it. That's the mark of a true enforcer, consistency. Fans don't want someone who acts tough in the heat of the moment and then tiptoes back later. They want someone who stands firm, who means what they say, and who proves it night after night. Because let's be honest, every legendary star has had that one teammate, the shield, the protector, the player who made sure opponents thought twice before taking liberties. Jordan had Oakley, Kobe had Fisher and Artist, Steph has Draymond, even in hockey, Gretzky had his guy. And now, Caitlin Clark has Sophie Cunningham. And Sophie isn't just filling that role with her fists or her fouls. She's doing it with her game. She's knocking down threes, spacing the floor, and defending with an edge. She's not just Clark's bodyguard, she's a weapon in her own right. The fact that she's willing to play both roles, protector on defense, sniper on offense, and apparently part-time notary stamping ownership on rookie guards who crossed the line, makes her one of the most unique personalities in the league. What fans saw in that moment was bigger than humor. It was a rallying cry. It told them Caitlin isn't out there alone, and it told the rest of the WNBA that Indiana isn't soft. The Fever finally have their enforcer, and her name is Sophie Cunningham.
Sophie Cunningham would take her rightful place as the Indiana Fever enforcer, and I believe took the first step to her becoming the second most popular player in the WNBA. Sophie Cunningham is everywhere. Barbies walking in. She's the best looking woman walking into these WNBA arenas. I mean, black belt Barbie, anybody? Black belt Barbie.
But here's the kicker. Sophie isn't just muscle. She's producing at a level that demands respect. Since the All-Star break, she's been one of Indiana's most consistent weapons, not just spacing the floor, but punishing defenses that sag off her. She's drilling threes in rhythm, attacking closeouts, and putting up stat lines that actually swing games. We're not talking about quiet 8-point nights here. We're talking about 15, 18, even 20-point performances that land right when the Fever need them most. Take that Phoenix matchup, for example. The Fever were sputtering, struggling to find offensive flow, and a lot of players disappeared from the box score. But Sophie didn't. She stepped right into the moment, pouring in 18 points with confidence, taking shots like she owned the gym. That wasn't an accident. That was a player proving she's more than just the enforcer, more than just the teammate who protects Caitlin Clark when cheap shots come her way. Because here's the truth, enforcer energy on its own is a vibe, but enforcer energy plus reliable production is how you change outcomes. That's how you build trust with your team, that's how you give your coach more options, and that's how you make sure opponents can't just write you off as a role player who barks but doesn't bite. Sophie's doing both. She's bringing the edge, and she's bringing the buckets. That combination is rare. And in Indiana's case, it's priceless.
Sophie Cunningham has been Caitlin Clark's biggest cheerleader and defender.
And it literally pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What? When people try to argue that she's not the face of our league, or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as shit.
Yeah.
You're literally dumb as.
The sad truth about this video we just watched is she is the first WNBA player I have seen to openly say this out loud, publicly, and not be ashamed in declaring it.
So when Sophie scrawled property of Sophie Cunningham across Sheldon's card, it wasn't petty. It was perfect. It was a line in the sand. Fans roared because it wasn't just about one cheap bump in one random game. It was about an entire season of Caitlin Clark being treated like target practice, finally getting its receipt. It was the release Fever Nation had been waiting for. Someone saying out loud with ink what everyone else had been thinking. Enough is enough. That signature wasn't just a joke, it was a message. Sophie was telling the rest of the WNBA that their rookie phenom wasn't going to stand alone anymore. Clark may be the star, the one drawing record crowds and carrying the league into primetime relevance, but she wasn't going to be left unprotected. Sophie made sure of it. She didn't send it in a press conference. She didn't tweet it. She didn't hide it behind PR spin. She put it right there in black and white, on Sheldon's card, no less. And that's why fans went crazy. Because it wasn't contrived. It wasn't calculated. It was authentic. Sophie didn't just say it. She owned it, literally. That pen stroke symbolized something bigger than just rivalry. It symbolized accountability. It told opponents, if you come for our star, you're coming through me first. From there, it snowballed. The autograph wasn't just a funny clip anymore. It became part of Fever culture. Within hours, it was a meme. Fans were slapping property of Sophie Cunningham across t-shirts, posters, and even mock trading cards. Social media feeds lit up with edits, and some even joked that Sophie should trademark the phrase before the league caught on. It wasn't just Indiana fans either. Caitlin Clark's massive supporter base, already used to documenting every bump, shove, and foul she takes, saved the clip like it was scripture. Proof that finally, someone had drawn a line in the sand for their star. Even neutrals who don't bleed Indiana colors had to respect it. This wasn't petty trash talk. It was clever, it was confident, and most importantly, it was backed up by Sophie's actual play on the court. The move felt authentic, the kind of raw personality fans beg for in a league that sometimes feels too polished. Overnight, Sophie Cunningham wasn't just another starter. She was trending, she was talked about, and she was embraced as the WNBA's newest enforcer with a sense of humor. And for Jacy Sheldon, the narrative flipped fast. Her young career, already bouncing between franchises before she could even establish herself, suddenly had a new headline. Not a breakout scoring night, not a career-high performance, but the rookie who got checked on the floor and signed off the floor by Sophie Cunningham. That's not the story she wanted, but it's the one she's stuck with. For fans, it became shorthand. Remember Sheldon? The one Sophie claimed? For rivals, it became a cautionary tale. Think twice before you test Clark, because Sophie's got the paperwork ready. The cheer that rippled through Fever Nation when the video hit timelines said it all. This wasn't just a laugh. It wasn't just fans enjoying a viral moment. It was identity. It was culture. It was Indiana planting a flag and declaring to the rest of the league, we're not just going to sit back while our superstar gets hacked, shoved, and targeted every night. Moments like this matter more than box scores. They're what build chemistry inside the locker room because players know someone has their back. They're what electrify a fan base because suddenly they're not just rooting for wins, they're rooting for personality, pride, and protection. That autograph didn't just make people smile, it stitched together a shared story that Fever fans and players could point to and say, this is who we are. And at the heart of it is Sophie Cunningham. That's why she's quickly become the second most beloved Fever player behind Clark herself. She's tough without being reckless, unapologetic without being selfish, and she's producing at a level that forces everyone to take her seriously. She's not just playing enforcer, she's hitting shots, grabbing rebounds, and giving Indiana a spark every time she's on the floor. It's the full package. On the court, she brings intensity. Off the court, she brings personality. And in a league still fighting for mainstream traction, having a player who can deliver both is invaluable. Sophie didn't just write on a rookie card. She wrote herself into the identity of this team. Fever Nation isn't just cheering for Clark anymore. They're cheering for the squad that protects her, rallies around her, and refuses to let her stand alone. That's culture. That's momentum. And that's why Sophie Cunningham is becoming a fan favorite at lightning speed. Now, let's be real. None of this would even be a storyline if the league had done its job. Clark has been the most targeted young star in recent memory. From Chennedy Carter's blindsides to Mabry's shove to Sheldon's bumps, the WNBA has allowed way too much physical play to go unchecked. And that's why Sophie's autograph moment hit harder than any foul call. It was a player stepping up where the officials failed. And for Fever fans, it's even more maddening because Sheldon isn't even a star. She's a role player still trying to establish herself. Drafted 5th overall by Dallas, bounced to Connecticut, and then shipped off again, she hasn't exactly lived up to the hype. Yet here she is, making more noise with fouls on Caitlin Clark than with her actual game. Sophie saw through the act and decided to deliver a reality check that fans will never forget. On the court, Sophie is instant energy. She changes the vibe the second she checks in, not just with her shooting, but with her toughness, her edge, her refusal to let things slide. You don't watch Caitlin Clark take a cheap shot and wonder, will anyone step up? Because Sophie always does. That's her identity now, and that's exactly why this autograph clip blew up. It wasn't just funny, it wasn't just a clever one-liner on a rookie card, it was symbolic. A line in the sand, a public declaration that said, if you're going after our star, you're going through me first. That kind of statement resonates far beyond one moment at a fan event. It tells Clark, you're not alone. It tells the rest of the Fever, we've got a backbone. And it tells the league, Indiana isn't soft anymore. Fans crave that level of accountability because it's not about trash talk or theatrics. It's about action. Sophie has shown she'll deliver that action every single time, whether it's a defensive stand, a hard closeout, or a sharp message scribbled in ink for the world to see. And when you pair that toughness with actual production, double-digit scoring nights, clutch threes, relentless energy, you don't just have an enforcer, you have a cornerstone. That's why Sophie's presence has taken on a bigger meaning this season. She's not just Clark's bodyguard. She's part of the Fever's heartbeat, the player who makes sure opponents know Indiana won't be pushed around. And don't get it twisted. Sophie's numbers back her up. Since the All-Star break, she hasn't just been tough, she's been reliable. She's quietly turned herself into one of Indiana's most consistent scoring options, drilling out side shots with confidence and knocking down momentum-swinging threes when the Fever need them most. Every time defenses collapse on Boston in the paint or throw double teams at Mitchell, Sophie has been there to punish them, stretching the floor, spacing the offense, and forcing opponents to respect her range. But it's not just about hitting threes. She's attacking closeouts, making smart reads, and showing she can create offense when the ball swings her way. Her shot selection has tightened, her percentages are climbing, and the efficiency speaks for itself. That's why coaches trust her to stay on the floor in crunch time. She's not just filling minutes, she's shaping possessions. Enforcer plus production is rare in this league. Most players who carry that tough guy edge do it at the expense of scoring, but Sophie is breaking that mold. She brings both the edge and the output. She'll stand her ground when Clark takes a hit, and 2 plays later, she's cashing in a corner 3 or diving for a loose ball that keeps the possession alive. That blend of grit and skill doesn't just add to the Fever's toolbox, it raises their ceiling. And when the postseason intensity cranks up, that kind of two-way impact becomes invaluable. That's why this moment matters so much. Sophie isn't just out here making noise for clout or trying to manufacture drama. She's making noise because she's producing and proving she belongs in the Fever's core identity. She's carving out her place not just as a shooter who can stretch the floor, but as the one who sets the tone physically, who draws the line opponents know not to cross. Every great franchise has players like that, the ones who make sure their stars aren't left hanging. In Indiana, Sophie is stepping into that role at the exact right time. Clark brings the spotlight, Boston brings the anchor, Mitchell brings the scoring punch. But Cunningham is bringing the attitude. She's the reminder that this team won't just let opponents pile up cheap shots and walk away smirking. She's building a culture where respect has to be earned and where the Fever fight back when someone tries to test them. And in a league that's still clawing for mainstream visibility, protecting your marquee player isn't optional. It's essential. Clark is more than just Indiana's rookie phenom. She's the WNBA's biggest draw, the ticket seller, the ratings magnet, the face casual fans are tuning in for. If she gets treated like open season, it's not just bad for the Fever, it's bad for the league. Sophie Cunningham gets that. That's why she's sending messages on the court, at the signing table, and everywhere in between. She's protecting her teammate, protecting the investment, and in the process, building her own reputation as one of the WNBA's most valuable enforcers. Fans have responded exactly the way you'd expect: loud, creative, and relentless. The clip didn't just go viral, it became part of Fever culture overnight. Socials lit up with edits, captions, and reaction videos. Memes rolled in faster than Sheldon's defenders could get back on transition. And then came the nicknames. Black Belt Barbie started trending, a nod to Sophie's martial arts background, her toughness wrapped in a smile. Fans leaned into it, creating artwork, banners, and hashtags that spread across timelines like wildfire. Pretty soon, people were calling for t-shirts, hoodies, even phone cases stamped with the slogan, "Property of Sophie Cunningham." What started as a joke at a signing table became a rallying cry. And that's when you know it hit, when the fans take it and run with it. Meanwhile, on the other side, Sheldon's reputation is sinking fast. Ask any group of WNBA fans about her now, and the first things they'll bring up aren't her scoring nights or defensive highlights. No, they'll mention the cheap fouls on Clark. They'll mention the groin contact. And now they'll bring up the autograph moment that blew up on every platform. That's how storylines stick. Once your name gets attached to something like this, it overshadows the rest of your game. And Sophie just made sure of it, with a Sharpie. But the biggest impact is what it means for the Fever as a whole. Cunningham isn't just protecting Clark, she's setting the tone for the entire team. The unspoken rule is clear. If you wear Indiana colors, you don't stand by when your star gets hit. You step in, and Sophie's leading that charge. That's why fans love her, and it's why even neutrals are starting to respect her grind. She's tough, fearless, and unapologetically herself, the exact kind of personality the WNBA needs to spotlight. And make no mistake, this storyline isn't going away. The next time Indiana faces Washington, everyone will be watching Sheldon. Will she try to clap back? Will Sophie send another message? Cameras will be locked in, fans will be waiting, and Clark's safety will be the headline. That's the ripple effect of having an enforcer. It changes how opponents think. It forces hesitation. and that's priceless. At the end of the day, Sophie Cunningham didn't just check Jacy Sheldon, she stamped her. She made it clear to the entire league, messing with Caitlin Clark comes with consequences. And the question now is, was Sophie's property of Sophie Cunningham moment the perfect clapback or just gasoline on the fire? Let us know in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe so you never miss a moment. Click the video on screen and we'll see you in the next one.